evening 6 to 7 p.m. Bhagavad Gita sessions. Before we begin our today's Bhagavad Gita session, let's offer our prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki jai. Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So, welcome everybody to the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 discussions. So, we have just begun our discussions on chapter 1. We have understood verse number 1. So today we'll continue with our discussions on verse number 2 and 3. So I'll share the screen with the verses. Okay. So this is chapter 1, verse number 2. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyamupasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Translation. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and began to speak the following words. So this verse is spoken by Sanjaya. And who is Sanjaya? We understood in our previous session. Sanjaya is the secretary and assistant of Dhritarashtra. And why was he assisting Dhritarashtra? In fact, Sanjaya was almost every time with Dhritarashtra. He was assisting Dhritarashtra because Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. And the present context in which we are discussing this verse of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, second verse, is that Dhritarashtra was blind by birth. He was incapable of taking part in the battlefield, or rather the great battle of Kurukshetra. So he had to stay back at home, or rather his palace. And Sanjaya, his secretary, he was the disciple of Vyasadeva. And he being the disciple of Vyasadeva, he was endowed with special blessings that he could see the activities of Kurukshetra war live, like how we discussed last session, about the live telecast happening of an event from the right now what we have experience of television telecast, live telecast, like that. So Sanjaya was able to see the live aspects of what is happening on the battlefield. Dhritarashtra was inquiring from Sanjaya. In the previous verse we have understood that why did this, what is happening on the battlefield. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is known as the place of pilgrimage, Dharmakshetra, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre, my sons and sons of Pandu have assembled with the desire of fighting. So what did they do? So Sanjaya, understanding the mind of the Dhritarashtra, he is now disclosing and talking to encourage Dhritarashtra. This is what we can see from these words of Sanjaya. In fact, we can see Sanjaya is addressing that Sanjaya is addressing Dhritarashtra as king, Raja, right? So basically, he is trying to tell Dhritarashtra that you are the king. But actually speaking, we know that Dhritarashtra, he was blind even physically and in fact even spiritually. Dhritarashtra was bereft of spiritual vision also. And Dhritarashtra very well knew that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion. And he was very sure that his sons will never enter into any compromise with the Pandavas. And Pandavas were all very pious from their very birth. All these aspects Dhritarashtra was having in his mind. So even otherwise, the doubt which the place would have influenced my sons. That is the reason he was asking the question, Kimakurvata. And Sanjaya could immediately sense his motive in asking this specific. The question itself, as we discussed in the previous session, the question itself was not so relevant and was not a very intelligent question. It was a foolish question in one sense. Right? So Sanjaya wanted to encourage the despondent king, and thus he warned that not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place or the whole place of pilgrimage known as Kurukshetra, generally in the place of dharma or place of pilgrimage, people don't do wrong things. But here, Dhritarashtra also had this doubt. Oh, the place itself may influence my sons. But Sanjaya is encouraging him that, oh king, your son Duryodhana, after seeing the military arrangement, Pandavanikam Vyudham, your son, after seeing the military phalanxes arranged by the sons of Pandu, because he was a little skeptical, how could they arrange such great army? He became little fearful, right? Immediately he rushed to the commander-in-chief, Dronacharya, and he wanted to take advice from him and wanted to inform him of how to, wanted to inform him of the real position of the battlefield, what is going on, and wanted to seek his advice. So here, even even Duryodhana is addressed as the king, right? So even though he was the king, the urgency was such that he also had to approach Dronacharya, who was the commander-in-chief, on account of the seriousness of the situation. So herein we can see the wonderful display of Duryodhana's political abilities. Right? Duryodhana was a very diplomatic person, but all his diplomatic skills and diplomatic various talents could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement made by the Pandavas. This is what this verse is telling. So we have to understand that the Dhritarashtra's inquiry from Sanjaya was a specific inquiry, and Sanjaya also, to encourage him, understanding his master's mind, wanted to cheer him up and wanted to tell him that actually there is no compromise. And your sons have truly displayed the Kshatriya spirit. Oh, so actually Dhritarashtra's heart was telling, let my sons be real Kshatriyas. Let them fight with my brother's sons. Right? That was the Kshatriya spirit. Dhritarashtra's thinking was, my sons are 100 in numbers. I have 100 sons, and there are only 5. So certainly my sons will come out victorious, and then the kingdom will be assured for me. That was his plan. Just look at the way of thinking of a person who is bereft of piety and bereft of dharmic background. The principles of dharma, religion are not there in Dhritarashtra. We understood in the previous discussion that how when people are driven by personal motivations, agendas, and they want to fulfill their own sense gratificatory tendencies, they become blinded by the rules, regulations of the scriptures, dharma principles. Right? We understood how Dhritarashtra was advised by Akrura. Dhritarashtra was advised by Bhishma, and his own brother Vidura advised him. But Dhritarashtra was hell-bent upon his own decision. Right? So that was the situation of the Dhritarashtra. So Sanjaya could understand all this background feeling of Dhritarashtra. In fact, towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya would openly speak about what is going to be the decision, final decision. Right? Towards the end, Sanjaya will say, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha. Actually, my dear sir, you do not expect any victory. It's not possible. Because on whichever side Krishna is there, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, and the fighter Arjuna, a great devotee, is there. Yatra Partha Dhanurdharaha. So the victory is assured. So your expectation of victory is actually only illusion. But in the beginning, just now the question has been asked, he will not immediately say that this is the decision. He's going to explain the entire episode of what happened on the battlefield before the battle was about to begin. That is the whole instruction of Bhagavad Gita. So he's telling that he's trying to cheer him up and encourage him that your sons are truly exhibiting the Kshatriya spirit. There is no such compromise. Immediately, your son Duryodhana, what did he do? As soon as he saw the Pandavas army, Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhasada. Your son Duryodhana, immediately he went to his teacher, Dronacharya, commander-in-chief, who was commander-in-chief, and spoke the following words. So here we can see that both Dhritarashtra being addressed as Raja, so that he can be encouraged that, oh, you're still the king. Also Duryodhana being addressed as king. So Sanjaya also very cleverly wanted to keep the good spirits of Dhritarashtra, and that way he addressed him also as the king. So that way the word Raja has been used. So I was, in the last session I was telling how Bhagavad Gita's every verse has volumes of meanings. We have to carefully study the Bhagavad Gita because each word carries a lot of different understandings, and the depth in which the depth in which you can go to each word of the Bhagavad Gita is unlimited. So as we know, there's a continuity. Actually, this whole Bhagavad Gita's discussion is part of the big historical narration known as Mahabharata. So that way there's a lot of historical incidences which has led to this war. Right? Somebody has become angry with you means so many incidents would have built up over a period of time because of which that person would be showing anger to you. Right? So before understanding the background, you simply judge by externals. Oh, see, unnecessarily this person is becoming angry towards me. That is wrong decision or wrong judgment. Similarly, here we can see that the whole background with which these verses are being mentioned in Bhagavad Gita by Vyasadeva, the beginning chapter, and the beginning chapter forms the foundation. It's the background for the rest of the Bhagavad Gita to be spoken. Right? So in that way, it is a very important chapter. So here, specifically, it is mentioned, Drishtva Pandavanika. This also conveys the meaning that Duryodhana actually did not expect the Pandavas that they would be able to accomplish such a huge military strength. Because Duryodhana knew that Pandavas were banished, they were sent to the forest, their kingdom was taken away, their money was usurped. Like so many things happened with their with the Pandavas, so many problems, tribulations they went through. But even then, they were able to gather such a big army. That was a big astonishment, surprise for Duryodhana. In the Srimad Bhagavata, we get a very good reference from one of the prayers of Srimati Kunti Maharani, describing what all tribulations, what all miseries the Pandavas went through in their lives. In fact, Kunti Maharani describes the whole set of tribulations as Muhur Vipad Ganat. There were a series of constant dangers. Vipad means danger. Ganat means series. Muhu, constant dangers. Constantly there were problem after problem in the life of Pandavas. So the was like this. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichatah Mridhe Mridhe Aneka Maharatastrato Draunyasta Taschasma Harebhi Rakshitah. So this prayer was offered by Kunti Maharani to Lord Krishna. When Lord Krishna, who had been with them for so long, and the battle of Kurukshetra is over now, and the Pandavas were established as the rulers, Maharaj Yudhishthira was made the king, and now Lord Krishna was returning back to Dwaraka. So Kunti is offering a series of prayers to request Lord Krishna that please don't go, please stay with us. So in that context, she is offering this prayer that, my dear Lord Krishna, you had protected us from Vishan. Right? So this is a list of dangerous encounters which Kunti Maharani is submitting to Lord Krishna. In fact, Kunti, in the previous prayer, she makes a very wonderful offering that Devaki, the mother of Lord Krishna, was also put into difficulty. But Devaki was once put into difficulty by her envious brother Kamsa. Otherwise, she was okay. But Kunti Devi and her sons were put into one difficulty after another, one after other, years and years together. Right? So they were put into trouble by Duryodhana and his party due to the kingdom, because they wanted to usurp the kingdom. And each and every time, Lord Krishna saved the sons of Kunti. This is the remembrance which Kunti is making. So she is listing some various important encounters they had, right? So this Vishan means once Bhima was administered poison in a cake called Vishan. Then Mahagnehe means there was a great fire. It is actually referring to the pastime of how the house of Shalak was made by Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, and all of them were telling that all of them made the Pandavas to go and spend time there. Their intention was somehow we will set fire to the house and everybody will die. So Vishan administering poison, Mahagne, Krishna saved them from a great danger. All these incidences most of us will know. Purushada Darshanat. This Purushada Darshanat means actually Bhima had to Purushada Darshanat. Purushada means the person who is a man-eater. Right? When the Pandavas were in exile, then the Pandavas had to encounter one big demon by name Hidimba. Right? So Duryodhana, this Bhima had to fight with this man-eater demon, Hidimba Rakshasa, and the Lord saved him. So Purushara Darshanat Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrataha. Asat Sabhaya means the Pandavas' wife, Draupadi, was actually humiliated. She was dishonored. Right? She was dishonored in a way that she was dragged into the assembly, and attempts were made to insult her by stripping her naked in the vicious assembly of the Kurus. And none of the great generals of the Kuru were all sitting there, nobody opposed. So Kunti Maharani is referring that incident that that sabha, that assembly was Asat Sabha. It was not a gentleman's sabha, because no gentleman would like to see a married woman in that way. A woman a woman who is married to other person in that way, in a very degraded position like that. So this was the whole remembrance. And mrudhe mrudhe aneka maharatastrato. They were also sent to the forest, and in that way, they were in the battle also. There were so many continuous attacks being made constantly, right? After all these problems are over, even in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, we'll see in the Mahabharata description, but Arjuna had to meet great generals like Drona, Bhishma, Karna, all powerful fighters, right? It is a lot of serious encounters they had. And finally, when the battle was over, Drauniyastra chasma Hare Virakshitaha. Drauniyastra, son of Dronacharya, Ashwathama, was so angry with the whole incident that he wanted to take revenge. And he released Brahmastra to kill the only final descendant of Kuru dynasty, right? So this was, like final blow which the Pandavas had to go through. So Brahmastra was released by the son of Dronacharya, Ashwathama, to kill the child in the womb of Uttara. Uttara is the wife of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna. So the Lord saved the only surviving descendant of the Kurus. Lord entered as Paramatma within the womb of Uttara, and he neutralized the he neutralized the influence of Brahmastra weapon, and in that way, the child in the womb, who was none other than Maharaj Parikshit, was saved. So like this, actually, the Pandavas were saved from Lord Krishna at every step. You can see so many incidents in Mahabharata. But the foolish Duryodhana did not know that now whatever big arrangement of army which he has made and which Pandavas have made, all that, Duryodhana is making an assessment, and they're thinking that I am going to fight in such a great way. I've got a lot of big power with me. I have Bhishma, I have Dronacharya, I have Karna, Jayadratha. I am very powerful, right? But he didn't know that on the Pandava side there was Lord Krishna. That he could not calculate, right? So basically, he was just assessing from the externals, and even in one sense, he was thinking, okay, such a big army in a short time, how they're able to arrange? That also was a big surprise for him. In fact, Mahabharata describes that there were 18 Akshohini Sainyas. Akshohini is one specific number of that many soldiers, and then horse carriers, chariots, elephants, right? So cavalry, like this, there is a big list of number of people and the animals taking part in the fighting. So 18 Akshohinis were total on both the sides. Duryodhana had 11 Akshohinis and Pandavas had 7 Akshohinis. So in that way, it was not a equal combatant fight, because the Pandavas had a lesser number of Sena, whereas Duryodhana had bigger, Kauravas had a bigger number of Sena. Even then, Duryodhana was a little surprised at how Pandavas were well equipped with good number of soldiers. Pandavanikam, he was a little surprised. So that was the reason why immediately he went to consult his teacher, Dronacharya. And Dronacharya was actually everyone's teacher. He was Acharya. Acharya means teacher. The Acharya Upasangamya, it is being mentioned here, which means he was a military teacher for both Kauravas and Pandavas. So Duryodhana, he approached his military teacher, Dronacharya, and in fact, Dronacharya had trained all of them when they were children, both Pandavas and Kauravas. And Dronacharya was actually a Brahmana. So he knew the specific military art. See, Brahmanas in the Vedic culture knew different specific knowledge of different branches of Vedas. So this military art is known as Dhanur Veda in Vedic literatures. So he imparted this knowledge to the royal children of Kuru Vamsha. So in that way, he was appointed as the military teacher of all the children of the Kauravas. So now, this Dronacharya, one specific thing which we need to observe here is that Dronacharya has joined Duryodhana, right? And Bhishma also has joined Duryodhana. None of them had joined Yudhishthira, or none of them had joined the Pandavas, because the Pandavas were not the king at that time. Here, one point we have to see is that the financial control was not in Pandavas' hands, and the sons of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana and party, they were on the government political power. That was the reason. So the maintenance of Dronacharya and Bhishma was going on from actually Duryodhana's side. So there was a sense of obligation. Somebody may question, if Duryodhana and party is all on the wrong side, why did Dronacharya and Bhishma took on their side? But here we can see a very fine point which Mahabharata explains, Srila Prabhupada explains to us, that actually the financial control and the maintenance of Dronacharya and Bhishma was taken care by Duryodhana and party, because they were on the government. They were controlling the governmental powers. So there was a sense of obligation from Bhishma and Dronacharya. But this obligation was only external in one sense. External obligation was being felt that I am getting support from Duryodhana for my maintenance. So in that way, I have joined him. Bhishma and Dronacharya actually are having that sense. So, so here basically the point which we have to understand is, whatever it is, they were on the wrong side in one sense. So whatever maintenance they were getting and whatever support they were getting from Duryodhana, and they were on the wrong side. So this whole episode of Mahabharata is to prove that when you're on the wrong side, how much ever great you may be, you will be vanquished. Right? But the Pandavas never raised this objection, or never brought this point that why Dronacharya and Bhishma are on the side of the Kauravas. Pandavas were happy with whatever they have been given. In fact, Lord Krishna was there on their side. Right? So in that way, they were very satisfied. And Krishna also did not fight actually. Krishna, we know that story, when the war was, a few months before the war was about to begin, then the Duryodhana and Arjuna had gone to meet Lord Krishna in Dwarka. And then Duryodhana was sitting right next to his, Krishna was actually taking rest. And Duryodhana immediately came near his head to just say that, I am the first. I should be given the first preference of being asked, what do you want? And Arjuna was standing near the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And when Krishna woke up, he first saw Arjuna. Because as soon as you get up, you first see who is there in front. Right? Whereas Duryodhana was just behind the head. That way, when Krishna woke up and yes, he saw, both Arjuna and Duryodhana are there, he started asking, both of you have come very nice. What do you want? Then both of them started telling Krishna, we want your support and help for the battle. So Krishna was, understood that first and foremost, Arjuna had come. So he gave the choice that way he wanted to give choice to Arjuna. But before giving choice, he made an open declaration that, see, I personally will not take part in the battle. So you can select whether you want my army or me. Right? So when this choice was made, and also Krishna had openly told that actually Arjuna had come first, I could sense. Then immediately Arjuna chose Krishna, even though he knew that Krishna is not going to fight. This was like a big, relief for Duryodhana, because he was always wanting this. Because the Sena which Krishna had was known as Narayana Sena. It was a very well-equipped Sena. It's a very powerful Sena. Right? Nobody could defeat them. It was numbering a large number of soldiers. So Duryodhana felt a big relief. Oh, I got Narayana Sena of Lord Krishna. Right? In that way, without even speaking anything, he just was feeling happy internally, and then he left, thinking that, oh, I have accomplished my purpose of visit to Dwaraka that way. So Krishna had made this arrangement already that he will not fight, he will just be on the side of the Pandavas, and that too, he will be acting as a chariot driver of Arjuna. So Arjuna was satisfied with that. Lord Krishna is there, and what else is required for us? Right? So Krishna, in order to satisfy Arjuna, he became his chariot driver. That's what we see. He is known as Partha Sarathi. So in that way, the battle was arranged. And when Dhritarashtra inquired from Sanjaya, Kimakurvata Sanjaya, what did they do? So Sanjaya is now encouraging Dhritarashtra and telling, sir, don't be disappointed. There was no compromise. Immediately your son, after seeing the military arrangement of the Pandavas, because he was a little taken aback, he was surprised, he has immediately gone to Dronacharya for further discussions. Dronacharya was the commander-in-chief appointed for the first few days. So what to do? Raja Vachanam Abravit. Then he began to speak to Dronacharya in this way. So what did he speak, and what was the further conversation? We'll see in the verse number 3, text number 3. Okay. Chapter 1, text number 3 of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So this is the translation. So Duryodhana immediately went to his teacher, and then he started telling, please look at this great army. Pashyaitam Panduputranam. Behold, or look at this great army of the Mahatim Chamum, a great military force arranged by Panduputranam, of the sons of Pandu. And all this is being arranged expertly by your intelligent disciple, Tava Shishyena Dhimata. And your intelligent disciple is whom? Is Drupada Putrena. Right? So, the son of Drupada, your intelligent disciple, my dear teacher, he has so expertly arranged this whole military great army of Pandavas. So basically, this is a sort of a pointing out of a mistake of Dronacharya by Duryodhana in a very diplomatic manner. So Duryodhana was a very great diplomat, we know, great politician. And he wanted to point out the defects, the mistakes of Dronacharya. Actually, Dronacharya was a very great Brahmana, was a commander-in-chief of the entire Kaurava army. And here, what is that mistake which Duryodhana wanted to point out? Actually, Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada. King Drupada, he is the father of Draupadi and the father of a boy named Drishtadyumna. Right? So Draupadi, she was the Pandava's wife, and this whole quarrel, because of this fight which Dronacharya and Drupada had. So Drupada had performed a great sacrifice by which he got a benediction of having a son who would kill Dronacharya. Right? Drishtadyumna was that son who was born out of sacrifice. Right? So Dronacharya knew all this. Even then, he admitted him as his disciple. In fact, Drishtadyumna was sent to Dronacharya to take military training. And Dronacharya knew that Drishtadyumna is as you know, is born to kill him only, kill Dronacharya. But even then, he administered training to him. So all these aspects we will discuss with more details in this text now. So basically, that incident which made this whole thing, the background with which Duryodhana is addressing Dronacharya and mentioning some names. So Duryodhana, as you see here, he was a great politician. He could have mentioned Drishtadyumna's name directly. But instead of calling him Drishtadyumna, he purposely called him the son of Drupada. Drupada Putrena. See, all these are very important aspects we have to note. As I told you, Bhagavad Gita's every word is important, and Srila Prabhupada says there are volumes of meanings in every word. So Drupada and Drona, as we were just now discussing, they had some enmity. And therefore, the very use of the word Drupada Putrena, this word was used to incite Dronacharya's anger. It's like, when you have some quarrel or some fight with some person, and that person's name is taken by some of your known person here with you, then you feel that emotion of anger, and you'll be very agitated, right? In that way, Duryodhana wanted to remind Dronacharya of the injustice which he had gone through. Right? So, in that way, Duryodhana reminded Drona that his enemy's son, Drishtadyumna, he was arranging the armies. Because Dronacharya had a natural inclination towards the Pandavas, especially to Arjuna. He's very pet student. So Duryodhana wanted to use his political diplomacy to ensure that Dronacharya would fight to the best of his ability, and he would not show any lineage or inclination, very pet disciple. So the incident which led to the enmity and bitter feelings between Dronacharya and Drupada is something like this mentioned in the Mahabharata. So when Dronacharya and Drupada, when they were very small children, they all went to the same Gurukula. So Dronacharya was the son of a poor Brahmana and Drupada was a prince. And in the Vedic system, either you are a prince or son of a Brahmana, whatever background you have, all of them study under a same guru, in a Gurukula. So that is the way Vedic system is arranged. So despite the different backgrounds and differences they had with regard to their upbringings, both of them became very intimate friends, Drona and Drupada. So in a moment of affection, when they are very intimate and as a friends, when you are very young, so that moment of affection, Drupada had once told his friend Dronacharya that when he inherited the kingdom, that when he would become the king, he would give half of the kingdom to Dronacharya. So Dronacharya felt, oh, my friend is so nice. When he becomes the king, he's going to give me half of the kingdom. So these words of his friend Drupada had gone deep into his heart. Right? So after that, they all grew up and they had gone back to their places, homes. And Drona had become a grahastha. And his poverty was continuing because he was son of a poor Brahmana and he was not having many, his means was very minimal. So when he had become a grahastha and his son who was born, Ashwathama, his son was actually crying for milk. Drona was so poor, Dronacharya was so poor that he could not afford even to get milk for his son. So then he remembered, oh, Drupada, my dear friend, when in our childhood he had promised and thought that that he will give me half of his kingdom, he'll support me, he'll help me. Let me go to my dear friend Drupada, in that way he thought, and at least ask a cow from him, that we can get some cow and my son can be fed properly. And when Dronacharya arrived at Drupada's palace, so the way he was being treated was not at all satisfactory, and in fact he was very poorly received. He was not properly received. So Drupada also started behaving in a very indifferent manner. When Dronacharya actually happened to have the audience of Drupada, he started asking, "Oh, am I your friend? Friendship and all can be recognized only amongst equals. What are you telling? I never told anything. Get out from this place immediately." So when this happened, it was like a big shock for Dronacharya. Dronacharya immediately made a decision then on the spot that I will take a revenge for this. Right? Then later on, he became the Acharya. He was appointed as the Acharya of the Kauravas, the Kuru dynasty. Both the Kauravas and Pandavas were trained. The Pandava princes were trained in the military arts. And when the training was complete, then he asked for his Guru Dakshina. Then Guru Dakshina matter came. Then the students asked him, "Yes, Gurudev, what do you want?" Dronacharya, they're asking, "What do you want as Guru Dakshina?" Then immediately Dronacharya said, "Capture this Drupada and bring him before me." So the Kauravas, first of all, Duryodhana and party tried to capture Drupada, but they were unable because Drupada was quite very powerful, and then they got easily defeated, and they were sent back to Dronacharya. And this was a big embarrassment. Later on, Arjuna came forward and he told, "We Pandavas will go and fight against fight with Drupada, and we'll bring him back. We'll bring him captured." So Pandavas attacked the Panchala Desha, the kingdom which Drupada was ruling, and then very easily Arjuna and the other brothers, Pandava brothers, they captured and bound Drupada in ropes after a great fierce battle and carried him to Dronacharya's feet. Then in that way, finally Dronacharya got half of Drupada's kingdom. In that way, Drupada had become his enemy. And this same Drupada, in order to take revenge of this what insult he had gone through now, he performed a great sacrifice to obtain a son who would kill Dronacharya. Just look at the whole action reactions, how each of them incidents are unfolding in Mahabharata. So Drupada performed a great sacrifice to obtain a son who would kill Dronacharya. And this son was Drishtadyumna. So Drishtadyumna later approached Dronacharya to study the military science. And although Dronacharya knew that Drishtadyumna was specifically empowered to kill him, he did not hesitate to train him. So this is what here Srila Prabhupada is explaining us in the purport, that Drishtadyumna, when he approached Dronacharya, the Acharya did not hesitate to impart him all the military secrets, even though he knew this very boy is going to kill me. Right? So this is the liberality of a Brahmana. The Brahmanas in the Vedic culture, they were known to be very liberal. The Brahmana's liberal heart is compared to the sun. So this Brahmanas, the way they're going to conduct and deal with the society is such that they know what is the purpose for which they are living. Right? So it's not that, oh, this person is going to kill me, so I should not impart him any knowledge. They knew liberal means you know that your life is going to end one day. Either this way or that way, one day we have to die. Right? So Dronacharya was doing his duty of a Brahmana. Right? After all, everyone has to die. Nobody will exist. And nobody should be afraid of death. That is the training which the Brahmanas have. That is the Vedic civilization in which the whole society was being conducted. Death is inevitable, as sure as death. Who can avoid death? So the basic conduct of Dronacharya, we can see very great, wonderful example here is, even though he had got a warning that the son of Drupada, who was sent for military training from Dronacharya as a teacher, Dronacharya did not hesitate to impart the knowledge of military science to the son of Drupada. He was not afraid of being killed by his own disciple. Just because we are going to be killed, or rather going to die one day, we cannot deviate from our duties. That is a specific point which we have to understand here. This is the Vedic civilization. So Duryodhana, in one sense, wanted to point out the mistake or defect of Dronacharya, that this very boy, your disciple Drishtadyumna, he is so expertly arranged the military army of Pandavas just to defeat you and remind you, Dronacharya, he is the same person who is meant for killing you, and he has learned this art from you. So just by the use of one word, Drupada Putrena, Duryodhana is trying to incite anger in Dronacharya and want to remind him of all previous incidents in the life of Dronacharya, and wanted to warn him and keep him alert that don't be lenient towards your pet disciple Arjuna and all the Pandavas. Right. So that's the reason why Duryodhana is using the word, very nice word known as Dhimata, very intelligent disciple. Right. So this Dhimata, again, from the Sanskrit point of view, Sanskrit understanding, how wonderfully this Dhimata is used in this context is also very important. So Dhimata, Dhi means actually intelligence. Right? Dhi means intelligence. So one who has got intelligence, every word is used with full meaning. So one who has every word in Sanskrit is used with full meaning. Sanskrit language is so wonderful in that way. So Dhimata means Dhi means one who has got intelligence. Though the word, Sanskrit word Dhimata, conveys a lot of wonderful meaning. Right? So here we can just get a wonderful understanding, which Srila Prabhupada gives us some insight about the Sanskrit language in one of his teachings. He says that Sanskrita, this language Sanskrita means Samskrita basically means very refined, the very refined language, and this language is used by even the Devatas. Devanagari it is called. Devanagari means even the residents of Devata Loka, they use this language. That is the beauty of this language, Sanskrit. It's like in Europe, the Roman letters are being used. Similarly, in the heavenly planets, upper planetary systems, these very Devanagari, Sanskrita language is used in the cities of the Devatas. And the language Sanskrita means, as I told you, most refined or most reformed. And Sanskrit, in one sense, is the mother of all languages, right? So even in this, even here on earth, we have many languages who derive many words from Sanskrit, just like the words maternal, matra shabda, paternal, pitra shabda. All this is all derived from Sanskrit only. Matra, pitra, right? So dhimata, this word which is used in this particular verse, is very important. As I told you, every word which is used in Vedic literatures, especially Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, are full of great meanings. In one context, Srila Prabhupada says, every word selected and used in the verses is so nice that if you put the word, like how you when you go and purchase gold or any valuable thing, very up to the milligram or very finest weighing aspect it is considered, and then only you are given that valuable thing. Like that, every word is used as though it is put on a weighing balance and properly weighed and then used, and not whimsically. Right? Not that words are just taken and just used in that way. They are very carefully used. That is called Sanskrita Sahitya, literary work. Just like we have a wonderful incident with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, wherein he was speaking to one great Pandit known as Keshava Kashmiri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his youth, he was a great Pandit. Nimai Pandit he was called. And actually this Keshava Kashmiri had come to show off his Panditya, his scholarly presentation he wanted to make. But immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nimai Pandit, he caught the discrepancies of this Keshava Kashmiri. And then he defeated him. That way Sanskrit language is very wonderful. So we can see here this Duryodhana is addressing his teacher, Pashyaitam Panduputranam. My dear teacher, just see how wonderfully the army, the military soldiers are standing on behalf of the Pandavas, and they have been arranged by your disciple, who is meant to be killed by you. Right? So in that way, he is telling that Duryodhana is approaching his teacher and mentioning to him what has actually happened, the seriousness of the whole situation is trying to bring out, and tell him that this very boy whom you have trained him, Drushtadumna, he has become so great and so strong that he has arranged a military party for the Pandavas, and they're going to kill you. Right? So, but Duryodhana was so foolish that he did not know that death does not depend on the military strength. This point we have to understand. Or bodily strength. Death doesn't depend on such aspects. Right? When death will come, nobody can check. Death is like God. Krishna says later on in Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu sarva haraschaham, as death I come and I take away everything from a person's life. When Krishna desires that this man should be killed now, nobody can protect him. This man has to die now, nobody can check. It's a nice statement in the Vedic, in our understanding, Acharyas gives understanding. Mare Krishna rakhe Krishna mare ke. When Krishna wants to kill someone, nobody can protect him. Krishna desires that this person has to be killed, nobody can protect him, or no power in the world can give protection to that person. And if Krishna wants to protect someone, Rakhe Krishna, nobody can kill him. This is Krishna's protection. This point Duryodhana was missing because he was on the side of adharma. He was irreligious. Therefore, the big commanders like Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, they were very big, powerful commanders. Actually, they were all on the side of Duryodhana. But even then, the outcome of the battle of Kurukshetra was that they were all defeated. In fact, in the Bhagavata, it is very nicely mentioned how while Parikshit is asking questions to Shukadev Goswami, it is mentioned in one context wherein Shukadev Goswami says that Arjuna, you and the Pandavas were nothing before the Kauravas, right? And then Parikshit Maharaj was being informed like this, that your grandfather was just like a fish. Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, his grandfather is Arjuna. Your grandfather was just like a small fish. And these commanders on the side of the Kauravas were like big Timingala. So Timingala, there's a big fish in the oceans. We get information from Vedic literatures that these big fish can swallow up even whales. Timi means whale fish. Timingala means it can swallow many timis. So like this, these Timingalas were very big fishes. So these commanders, Karna, Dronacharya, Bhishma, Jayadratha, they were all compared to Timingalas. And Arjuna, even though he was quite powerful, he was compared to Timi, a small whale fish. So it was admitted by Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj that it was not possible for Arjuna and the Pandavas to win over the battlefield before these big commanders. Only Krishna saved them, only Krishna protected them. So the conclusion here is that if Krishna saves, nobody can kill. And if Krishna wants to kill, nobody can save. Therefore, our conclusion should be that we should always be under the protection of Krishna. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. This is called surrender or Sharanagati. That Krishna, I am surrendering to you with full faith that you are quite competent and able to give me protection. This is the prayer we should have. This is called surrender, right? Not that we hesitate. Oh, if I surrender to Krishna, if in case there is some danger, who will give me protection? This is not surrender. That's why in the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masuchaha. Krishna very clearly says that you simply surrender to me, giving up all other so-called other forms of religion. I will relieve you from all sinful activities, all sinful reactions. Do not worry. Do not hesitate, Krishna says. So, this when you surrender to Krishna, there is no question of any hesitation, any fear, any question. Right? We should simply offer ourselves, submit to Krishna. From this day, Krishna, I want to surrender unto you. I have been wandering throughout this universe, life after life, without knowing what is my relationship with you. Now today, I want to surrender to you. Please accept me and engage me in your service. This is called surrender. This is the mood with which the Pandavas were all, having that disposition in their consciousness. With that mood, they were with Krishna. That is called pure devotee. And when you surrender to Krishna in this way, Krishna assures, Kaunteya Bhatijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. My devotees will never be vanquished. Always they will be protected. This is the assurance Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So we just have to surrender to Krishna and offer our services to Krishna wonderfully. Krishna will take care of our protection. And finally, he will deliver us from this material world. This is the message we get from these two verses today. We'll continue our discussions in the next session. Until then, we'll take leave. Thank you, everybody. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.